Andersson-Keller is a seasoned aviation professional with over 23,500 hours of flight time and a distinguished career spanning 3 decades. Currently serving as lead line check pilot for the Airbus A330 at Delta Airlines Boston base, Monika plays a critical role in training and evaluating pilots to uphold the highest standards of safety and performance. Her aviation journey began in 1985 at a flight school in Conway, South Carolina, and she was hired by Northwest Airlines in 1995. Over the years, she has flown a wide range of aircrafts and held multiple positions, including D-727 second officer, DC-10 second officer, Airbus A320 first officer and captain, Airbus A330 first officer and captain. Her extensive flight experience includes 10,000 hours on the Airbus A330, 4,370 hours on the A320, and thousands more across the DC-10, B-727, and DC-9. Born and raised in Stockholm, Sweden, Monika has called Barrington, Rhode Island home since 2004. She is married to a retired corporate pilot, and together they share a remarkable aviation legacy, raising 3 children who have all followed in their parents' footsteps to become pilots themselves. BFFs, please join me in welcoming to the microphone Captain Monika Andersson-Keller.
So now, thank you everybody for having me join up here. Stole half of my story. So, I first would like to just thank Karen Chapman for Harbor 9 for having regional chair for inviting me to speak to you. Karen herself has had quite an impressive career. She started working in the Chamber of Commerce at age 18, has been promoted every 5 years after that. And today, being the CEO of the Chamber has done so much for the business West community by promoting businesses, offering workshop and scholarships and so much more. I was introduced to Karen by Elaine Costa, and Elaine herself has quite an impressive career. And I know Elaine started out by mortgaging her house to be able to start her own travel agency. And today she's the CEO of Atlas Travel with over 200 taking care of agents. And she brings a lot of business to Delta, and we're very thankful for that. Elaine works closely with Karen, with Barbara Tacho, one of my colleagues at Delta.
Hi.
And
Can I get you?
one of our sales agents at Delta. She's a 5-time Latin League winner, and it's only given 10% of the sales agents that will
They will invoice you. I'm sure there's a credit card attached.
There should be.
Yeah, they just invoice you.
Elaine and Barbara, also that always are able to connect the board to the passes that you bring us. So my introduction, can't give some of it, but I kind of repeat it. So my name is Monika. I was on my operating on the 320 as captain in Jackson Hole. Been Delta pilot for 40 years. I came over from Sweden in 1985 and applied the Airbus 330. Here's my airplane, and I love the Airbus. And in the hours, I got over 10,000 hours in the Airbus, and in the 330 and 4300 in the 320 series, we call it the little bus, and this is the big bus. And I've had 4,500 hours, 4,500 hours as captain, and 23,500 total time, and that equates to just under 3 years with me 24/7. As Aaron was mentioned, I'm the lead line-check pilot in Boston. Being a lead line-check pilot means that you check out other pilots on the aircraft. When you fly a wide body, it's a So most of my students, they have years of experience as Delta. I have sometimes I have pilots who come and they kind of 30 years, but they just
There you go. You're very welcome.
and also the check rides, the check captains, and the check rides are on an actual flight, so on my flight, and also the captains.
Yes.
Yes.
I just wanted to laugh at you.
Thank
you so much.
Procedures, anything that's.
There's a lot. There was a few over there.
And I said, we basically do the same thing with other instructors that are not check pilots as well. We have over 17,000 pilots at Delta, 108 that are land check pilots on their 330. And we have 20 leads, and I'm the only lead in Boston. I live in Rhode Island the last 22 years. That's where I raised my kids. Married to a corporate pilot. We got married a long time ago, 36 years ago, in California. And my husband played Gulf Streets for Thomas H. Lee. Some of you might be familiar with an investment firm out of Boston. And they have the Delta Airlines in Hanscom. My sister is also a pilot. She flies in FedEx. She's a captain on the 767. She lives in Stockholm, is based in Memphis, and also lives in Las Vegas. She has a base there. So she basically commutes to Las Vegas and picks up water trips to Las Vegas. She's literally commuted everywhere. Her longest commute was from Stockholm to Guangzhou and China. And there's Susie on her 767. I have 3 children. Erica, she's 25 years old, and twin boys. They're 22 years old. There's a picture of Erica, my daughter. She's a pilot too. She flies for Frontier. And I just talked to someone else here, the new Frontier pilot. And she's based in Denver, and she flies the Airbus, the 320 series, so 320, 321. So Eric and I can talk Airbus all day. And they're my boys. We have a little airplane. It's a beach carrier that we keep in North Smithfield, Rhode Island. And that's my husband's the captain of that airplane. And he loves to go flying with the boys. The boys come home more than Erica because she's busy with her job. And they're my twins again, Marcus and Axel. They both in the military. Axel's at the Air Force Academy. He's doing this last year. And Marcus is sitting in the glider. He just graduated at ASU, and he's got all his pilot licenses, his instructor ratings, instructor, intended instructors, and he's now with the Rhode Island National Guard, and he's going through training on the C-130 aircraft. There's Axel, is a glider instructor, and that's his glider route in Colorado Springs. And there's Marcus in the C-130, which he's been looking at since he was 3 years old. And there's the C-130J model that he'll be flying when he's all checked out. So like I mentioned, I'm from Sweden. Both my parents were teachers. People often ask me why did you become a pilot, why did you get interested in flying? And it's a story that started a long time ago when my mom and dad had dinner with my mom's cousin Mona and her Swedish and her husband Bengt. Bengt was a Swedish Air Force pilot in the C-130. They looked older mom than Marcus is flying. I feel it's a little bit full circle. During the dinner, they was bragging about how difficult it was to become a pilot, and not everybody could fly. And my dad was always a kind of do guy, which I really, I loved that with Dad, that nothing was impossible. And he told me to dinner, I bet you can learn to fly in a year. So of course, a year later, my dad wanted that, and then me and my 2 sisters were benefiting from having a pilot license. So we flew all over Scandinavia. We flew airplanes with skis on that, landed in the mountains. We rented airplanes with with floats, and we landed up in Monika. And that's literally the only picture I can find of my dad in the airplane. That was taken in our house for months. We were that meeting, that's from my grandparents, so I just shared that picture. So go back to the my older sister started, she went to law school, so when it was my turn to start university, I thought that I was going to do the same thing, so I went to law school for 1 day. It was the most boring thing, not for me. So I quit, I went home and thought long and hard about what I wanted to do. And one day I was reading a newspaper, and it was an article, it was an ad for Flight School in Congress, South Carolina, North American Institute of Aviation. So they had informational meetings, so I went to one of those, and Sune Wallman was a SAS captain who was holding meetings. He talked it well up, and I was completely hooked after that day. I thought it was the greatest job you can have to fly airplanes that I like to do. I always like to go to school, and I love to travel. So in the fall of 1985, I went out to Arlanda Airport with 7 other Swedish aspiring pilots. And we got a purpose-oriented 747 jumbo jet to JFK, and I felt my world was just starting. And I went up to the upper deck, talked to the pilots, and I was in awe, and thought that would be the greatest thing to have that job. So we landed in JFK, spent the night in Manhattan, to the YMCA, and in the morning we went to Fort Lauderdale, they waited us to Conway, South Carolina. While we were at the bus station, waiting for the crew from the festival to come pick us up, I had an American breakfast, in grits. I've never seen grits before. Grits was the most disgusting. Then Jeanette Baumbach, the lady that was running everything at high school, came to pick us up. She was a real southern lady with big hair, and southern accent, and we had a hard time understanding her. And she had a hard time understanding all of us Swedes with our accents. But that's the station where she picked us up in. And this is the traders we that live right at, basically right adjacent to the runway. So it's the greatest day that you just walk to the airport at the runway. In the next 6 months, all we did was fly 7 days a week, and from not having any licenses. And 6 months, I got my private pilot, just like everybody else. Private pilot is non-commercial, multi-engine, instructor, instrument, multi-engine, really. And that's my class, and as you can see, I'm all the women. I'm not even in the picture because I was stuck on cross country and got followed them. But it was one other girl in my class, and that's really lovely roommates. And these are the airplanes we flew, the Scarlet Hawks and the Cardinals. After Conway, after flight school, I went to Tallahassee for 3 months, flight instructed, and then back to Conway, and I flight instructed in Conway until I had 1,500 hours. That's what's required to take your air transport pilot rating. And that's the highest rating that you can take. And then you just get type rated on the airplanes that you fly with the airlines. At the same time, my sister came over, so she was getting her instructor ratings. And by the time she was done with her instructor ratings, I had my 1,500 hours, and we both took our check rides at the same time. And the examiner who gave us the check ride was also a young dealer in South Carolina. And we had a girlfriend, a Norwegian girl from flight school who got a job in Texas. So we were going to go to Dallas, Texas, and I was going to look for a job flying twin engines, and my sister was going to look for a job flight instructing. And the examiner told us to, you're a Swedish girl, you can't be flying from South Carolina to Texas without a gun. So he sold us a 38 special. We've never seen a gun before, especially growing up in Sweden. So we took the gun, put it in the gun compartment, and then drove to Texas. My sister got a job at the flight school. I didn't get a job like twins. And I called back to the flight school back in the days before the cell phones. So I sent resumes all over the country. I called the flight school to check, and then what happened was, my friend Sean Poole from the flight school, he was flight freight in Buffalo. So I said I'll go to Buffalo and fly with him. And of course, I didn't have much money left, and we ran into 2 Delta pilots at the airport. And they knew our situation, and they were nice enough to buy the gun for twice as much as I paid for it. So for the money I got from the gun city, I bought the airline ticket to Buffalo. And then I flew with Sean Poole, didn't like the owner of the company, called back to the flight school again and see if anyone was looking for pilots. And I found out that they were looking for pilots in Baton Rouge, Michigan. So I got a Greyhound ticket to go to Buffalo, from Buffalo to Battery. And once I was sitting on the bus, I started talking to some people, and they were asking what I was doing. I said, I'm a pilot, I'm a dog, and Battery. And they couldn't understand why a pilot would sit on the Greyhound bus. They didn't realize how much we made when I started out. So once I got to Battery, I had a job with BSI, Aviation Specialists Incorporated, and that's one of the things I flew. We flew twins, and that was turbine powered aircraft, which was like really valuable time. And I was based in Evansville, Indiana. I flew freight for hovercraft. They were paid for by Kodak. And they had a photo battery plant in Evansville. So they got the loads of them in the evening and developed the pictures overnight. So in the morning, I got 1,000 pounds of photos in plastic bags and I loaded in the aircraft. We had a 4-drop departure, so it was quite wake-ups. And I loaded the freight, put a net over, crawled over, and jumped into my seat. And then in the winter time, when it was racing, we had a bottle filled with glycol, so I had to hand pump it, spray the aircraft, glycol all over me, and then crawl up over my freight and in the cockpit seat. It was a great experience. I also met my husband in Evansville, and after we had a long distance relationship over the phone for a year, and then I quit my job, went to New Jersey, where he was flying the Learjets, and I sold Christmas trees on Manhattan. And we took the money from the sales from the Christmas tree and whatever he had saved up from his job, and we drove to California, so he quit his job too. Then once in California, he continued flying the Learjets in California, and I got a job in the Marine Corps. And that's the country line that I flew. I got hired in 1989. And it's funny, I look at that picture and I kind of laugh because the uniform, you might not see it, but I remember the uniform. It was it's just navy uniform. There was no female option. So nothing really fit. And later on, I learned how to go to tailors and have it all open. I look at myself in those pants and that shirt. It was all nice clothing. And that's my girlfriend, Lisa, that I flew with me. I had quite a few female pilots at the time in California, I think much more than other places in California. And then I wanted to get on with the major airlines. I had my applications out with everybody. American was my, at the time, airline of choice, probably because I did the American Eagle. And I had some friends that went to American. And I got hired by them in December of 92, and in 93, I was waiting for my class date. They called me and leaving us a machine and tell the story, so stop hiring. So they didn't put me in how to do nothing, it was like a square one. I was quite depressed at the time because I wanted to get on the major so bad. I started to fly everywhere. I sent out application to every airline I could get. And eventually I got hired by Military Express. And that's the same time job that I was on did. So we moved to Boston, and I started commuting to Milwaukee. I again wanted to get on with the major second setting up applications, and then I finally put all the last in 1995. And I felt that that was full circle from when I first got on that subway in Stockholm. And I handed out the trading cards on all your seats, and that's the original trading cards when you look at from the first at the time. So that's a picture of a trading card in my first airline at Northwest. I was a flight engineer, and everybody started out with flight engineers. We don't even have flight engineers anymore today. And then I upgraded to the DC tab and to international. That's the airline terminal picture. That's what the family looked like. And that's my DC tab that flew all over the world, Asia, Europe, a lot of India, on that, Mumbai, New Delhi. And back in the days, the DC tab, they had around 5 gauges, we call them steam gauges. Today, the Airbus that I fly have glass cockpits that looks like that, they're a lot cleaner and a lot more modern. And like Pam was saying, that's the little bus, the 2326 Airbus, and that's the big bus. And being an instructor and jet pilot, we did some specialty flights that regular airlines don't get to fly, which I really cherish. And in December this year, I got to do a delivery flight. I got to take delivery of a brand new aircraft from Airbus in Toulouse. And this is with the other 2 instructors that we flew to Toulouse and then did a tour of the factory. And that's Dominique, she works for Airbus. She's in charge of all the deliveries. And it's quite an impressive operation out there. They have a board with airplanes that we use a little bit of the water. One plane is going to Addis Ababa, and one airplane is going to Tokyo, one airplane. We are out on board just like in the terminal, we can see the board with the partners. Another one going to Tokyo. And then there were only 3 pilots on board, the acquisition manager and another maintenance personnel from Delta. And they gave us this unbelievable catering, and we had a whole tray of foie, which is my favorite food on the flight. So I ate a little too much of that, didn't really need to eat for another week. Then in terms of being a female pilot, I'm obviously a minority. When I started out, there were less than 2% women flying on airlines. Today at Delta we have 4.6. And Patty Wagstaff, she's one of my role models. Kind of heroes that I looked up to. She was the national airbag champion, and when she competed, there's no female male category, it's just one category, and she beat everybody out. And this is her extra 300. And Patty said that the airplane doesn't know if you're female or male, and I thought that was a really good saying. So I tried to do the same, trying to look at myself as a female pilot, just as a pilot. And one of my daughters from the family too, she wanted her to, and when she did her first LinkedIn account, she started out by saying I'm a female pilot, and then listed her qualifications. And I told her that you don't need to put a female pilot, they know you're female by your name, that you should put the qualification. Female, so qualification, nice to be female, doesn't mean you got 2 things. But look at qualifications, that you're on time, you have all these ratings, you have this flight time, you have all these leadership positions. And here you can see the numbers with still, pretty low, and then some other slides with other areas, you can kind of see how they rank. And Iceland here, I looked at that, Yeah, so the importance for me is that you're confident that you know how to do your job. As a pilot, to be able to shape up the training, you have to know your memory lines, you have to know your aircraft, you have to know their procedures. And I always tell my daughter that anyone has that asks advice to study and work hard. And one of the captains that I flew with too early on at Northwest, he had one daughter who was able to medical school. And the advice he gave to his daughter was walk with confidence, walk at your own mission. So I tried to do the same thing. And sometimes when you're new, you won't have the experience and not just help you walk with confidence. But if you pretend you have the confidence, and you work hard, they come. And that's what I told my daughter and my boys too. So then it's still pretty unusual to have a working crew. Sometimes you have two pilots out there, with, two women, quite a few times. But 3 women is very unusual. I only had 2 flights with 3 women. And one was a couple of weeks ago, and it was just before I got the speaking engagement, so I felt like it was not to just be an interview nice. And this is my flight from Lisbon to Boston. And we got as many pictures as we could because it's not that often you get the opportunity. And there's my whole crew too. Everybody were quite supportive and yeah, excited about the flight. The lady asked me earlier about challenges that I've had. And I think the biggest challenge and disappointments was when I got downgraded when I flew for American Eagle from captain to co-pilot because it was a downturn in the airline industry. And then your salary basically gets cut in half overnight. So we lived in Los Angeles at the time. And I got my salary from $80,000 a month, but that's before taxes. And then when I got to job at American Airlines, I thought I had been made, and I was back to square one. Then coming with Northwest, we went on strike in 1998, and I had seen airlines like Eastern Airline go out of business, Pioneer, TWA. So luckily I was strike only lasted 2 weeks, so we kind of made it through that. And then the next big hurdle was 9/11, of course. I had just come from Rome. That was the day before. I was off on 9/11. I was supposed to go to London the next day, and then of course everything was shut down. And I remember being in my house in Motherhead, we lived at the time. My husband called. We were just moving out. So the only thing we had left in the house was the TV and the phone. And my husband from T-Roy, he was outside, and he was standing on the side looking at the wardrobes on the second-hand it. And he told me to turn on the TV, and I saw the second-hand picture, and I just couldn't believe it. And then there were no airplanes in the sky, I'm sure most of you remember, and it was just a eerie feeling. And then of course we were about you don't have a job, and all the passengers just dropped off. So really because of Chapter 11 and everything that happened, after that, in 2005, we weren't making enough money as an airline. So we filed for Chapter 11, and overnight, again, the salary stopped literally cut in half. We lost our benefit plan, our pension plan, and we worked 30% more, private hotels. We went down to rates at cheap hotels by the airport, so it was like a different job. Then things started to slowly get better. We pulled out of Chapter 11. We merged with Delta in 2008. In 2010, we had a complete, we call it the SOC, and we started mixing flight crews and everybody. And then things started to look up, and for about 10 years, everything was really good until COVID came. And then COVID hit, and I remember going to the airport. I was based in Detroit at the time. I walked up to the airport, and I was literally the only person at the airport. There was no passengers, and it was totally depressing, that city feeling of the 9/11, Chapter 11, wondering why you're going to lose your job again. And then the flights, we had no flights coming out of the US, but the international destinations were full, where all passengers wanted to get back home. And I remember having a flight to Cancun. We're going to go to Cancun. We were empty going down to Cancun, completely full out of Cancun to New Orleans. And we get ready to take off, take the runway, and we get a message from the dispatcher that say, do not take off. So we clear the runway, which was a holding area, on the way and we find out that we had a passenger, a Russian woman with a green card, so she had the right to come into the US, but she had been through Italy, and Italy was one of the countries where COVID was really spreading fast, so we couldn't clear her in New Orleans because there were only a few airports that had a CDC customs facility, so we had to go back and tell her she had the flags. I think it was still, I would say, kind of afraid of what's going on with things. And we had no safety equipment, no masks, no wipes, no sanitizer or anything at the time. And then I remember another flight we had from Mexico City into Detroit, same thing, the flight was completely full. And coming into Detroit, the customs facility, we were met by CDC health officials. We looked at the immune suits. We had the biohazard suits, and they would order dimethansol. And we can't just order dimethansol because they're required on board for passengers if something happened, we need to evacuate. The dimethansol had been to China, and they were China trips over the last 2 weeks. So that's why the ones that are more contested, we couldn't let them off. So it seemed like during COVID at the time it was something new that we never seen before. Then, let's see, Jerry also asked me to what advice I would give to other female pilots, and it kind of goes back to what I talked about being a female pilot. I would just say, if work hard and know your stuff, and make sure that you make us all look good, and learn from others with more experience, and when you do run into people that give you negative comments or try to sum up what you've done, but just don't listen to them, and always look for positive role models, and show people that you can do the job. And I think the best way to change people's preconceived idea that you can't do certain things because you are a woman or whatever it is you are. I think by show that you can do the job by your actions, I think is the best way to change perception. And I was elected on Midland. That it's just a really good job. I've been doing it for 40 years and definitely have my ups and downs, but today is a much better job than when I started. And the pay is so much better. It took so long before we made any kind of money. And I have friends that were on, actually cat food and losses, and people qualified for food stamps when I started. And it's not like that anymore. And the airplane supply are much safer. I have several friends, and so does my husband, that's killed in aircraft accidents. But it's much safer today, and the benefits are better. And if you like to fly, it's still the best job in the world. And I'd like to end with talking about my